Hi, my name is Lianne Bridges, and I'm the co-founder of Light Express, which is all a channel all about living your purpose and living with well-being. And today I have online with me speaking is Suzannah Baum, who is a amazing speech coach to help us create our own signature speech that really sells our business in a way that's unique to us. And I've worked with Suzannah for years. I'm really excited to actually be able to talk to her about her path towards doing the work that she loves with freedom and passion. And just want to introduce you. Hi, Suzannah.
Hi, Lianne. So I'm really, really excited to be here and finally do this with you.
Yes, we've been talking
Yeah,
about it for a little while.
a
But you've
long
been
time.
really busy developing your signature program, the signature speech. So we're going to talk about that today and how that can help people, and especially is small entrepreneurs, sole entrepreneurs, and how they can start to sell their business. But first, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about your path, because you and I met in the corporate world, and we're wearing different hats back then. Very different hats.
Very different hats, yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how you got to doing the work you do, and maybe just introduce yourself better than I'm able to introduce you as the work that you do, and then to explain to people how you got there.
Okay, sure. So, a lot to be said. Yes, it was really interesting, I think, our path, Lianne, and maybe I'll talk about that a little bit as part of the journey. But I developed my company. I started my company back in 2004, and it was developed. It was developed through, based on many different. Uh, it was based on many different things and many different goals that I had. But before even talking about how I started the business, I think the interesting thing about the journey was that several years ago, I didn't really start off as someone who liked public speaking. So it's kind of strange sometimes. Even I look at it and I go, how on earth did I get into this particular field where I teach people how to be more effective presenters, how to be more confident in public speaking, and how to really get their point across when they are in front of an audience, because it's such a huge opportunity when you get a chance to just stand in front of a group of people and share your knowledge. And coming from someone like me who spent most of my young life being terrified of public speaking, hating it and avoiding it at all costs. And I was really always the shy one in my family. I was never wanted to speak in school. I always just blended into the wall. I was the wallflower in school. And any time that I had to give a presentation, I just read it and pretty much prayed for a quick death, that it would just be over and get me through the torture.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough to get up there and make yourself the center of attention and be okay with that. And for so many years, I was just not at all okay with it. And yet lingering through all these difficulties, I always had this feeling that I was supposed to do more in life, and that I was really eventually supposed to share whatever it was that I knew, which at that point I had no idea what it was. But I was meant for something, but I didn't know what it was. And so I did what I could to what I thought I needed to do to get over this fear. I took acting classes and improv classes, and they were lots of fun. But it's a very different experience when you can look out into an audience and not have to look at anyone. And as a public speaker, when you look out into an audience and you have to really connect with your audience. And so, I had a series of corporate jobs. I went through, got a Bachelor of Commerce, and then I got a Master's in International Relations, and I went to work in corporate and in the marketing field. And I just kept going through job to job and not feeling very satisfied where I was. And, thank goodness for one of my earlier bosses who one day just took me aside and he said, listen, Suzannah, you have a lot of potential, and there's a lot to you, but until you can start standing up at the company meetings and sharing what's going on in your department, you can't go anywhere in this company, and you probably can't go that far even when you leave this company.
Wow, that must have been hard to hear, eh?
It was a bit of tough love there because in he meant well, right? Um, inside that statement was, Suzannah, you can do more, but you just have to let yourself. You have to take a stand for it. And it was at that point, a family member of mine, a relative of mine, was in Toastmasters, and I decided at that point, okay, maybe this is the time that I go to Toastmasters and get over this fear of public speaking. And I did go to Toastmasters. The first time I went, I found it extremely overwhelming, and I actually didn't want to go back. And it took me about 6 months to go back. But at that point, the timing was right, and little by little, just the idea of standing up and giving speeches in front of what was a very supportive, encouraging group, an encouraging group that really provided feedback on how I was as a speaker and how to improve as a speaker.
Right.
And through Toastmasters, there was one day through Toastmasters that I was in it about 6 months, and I was invited. The Toastmasters group that I was a part of was invited to give a speech. Get a couple of Toastmasters together, give a speech about public speaking to an alumni group at the university. And I volunteered because at that point I felt that I had to step outside my comfort zone. I was terrified because this was my first outside Toastmasters presentation. And I got up with 4 other speakers, and we each took our turn giving a 5-minute talk. And somewhere in this 5 minutes, as I was speaking to the audience, my very well-rehearsed, memorized presentation, there were these 2 women in the audience, successful professional women, who, I don't know exactly what it was that I said, but they pulled out their pens and they wrote down what I was saying. And the fact that they wrote down that they thought that what I was saying was so compelling that they would write it down was literally the moment when I went, this is where I'm supposed to be. Because again, growing up as someone so shy, who always felt like nothing I said was very important, so that's why I didn't talk much. And here were these 2 professional women writing, making the effort of writing down what I said. And it really was this transformational moment for me to know that I left that night. I left and I said, how can I do this for a living? And from there, that's pretty much where it started. I got an opportunity at that point to give a presentation to teach a course at McGill, and little by little, workshop, and someone finds you at a workshop, and then they give you an opportunity to come and speak at their company, and then little by little, there went the company. There it started.
That's great. That's a great story, and I love that transformational moment. It's often we do have that moment in our life, but not everybody answers that call.
Yeah,
it's really unique. And now that you are on that kind of path where you're doing what you really love, and you're working for yourself, and you have some of the freedom, what is it that how do you feel about that? What is it that resonates the most with you of being kind of self-employed and running your own business compared to when you were working, for example, in corporate world? How does it make your life different in a positive way?
It's a freedom, I think, a freedom to pursue what feels right inside me, the feeling of what I should be pursuing, and that I'm getting closer and closer all the time. And it's a work in progress, right? It's a work in progress to continually improve myself as well, and keep learning, and so that I can be in a position to keep teaching, and keep helping other people reach that point as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
One of the things that I often try to coach my clients on is creating a program rather than trying to sell hours or sell one workshop after another. Create a real signature program that's and at least start with one, and then maybe develop other programs as you go. And you recently just launched an incredible program called your is it called signature speech? Developing your
Yes.
signature speech?
Create a signature speech that sells. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's already getting, it's being, you're in the process of actually delivering that, right? You got great
Yeah.
response, and
Yeah.
so I think the work that you did there, and I've been watching, is really fantastic. And I just wondered if you could share a little bit about how you came about doing that, because you went from, as you mentioned, doing like kind of a bit of one-offs, hour, here and there, coaching that way, to really developing an end-to-end program that people can buy into, that really helps, is clear outcomes, helping you develop a signature speech that sells.
Yeah.
So briefly, if you can just talk about how you ended up coming about doing that, and your success so far.
Yes. Well, I've always wanted, for a little while I've been working one-on-one trainings and group coaching and group teaching, and I wanted to find a way to get it out to a larger audience, and of course online is the way to go with that. And at the same time, I had always been searching for the right online platform, and I was noticing the more I hear people speaking and the more I get out there and listen to the talks, and whether it's my clients or just going to conferences myself, I'm finding that there are so many people who are getting this wonderful opportunity to speak, and yet there are pieces of their presentation that are just not as powerful as they could be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a wonderful opportunity when you are allowed to get up in front of an audience and share the message. And I was finding that people were not maybe hitting the strong points of their message that really can impact an audience. And of course, there were those people who are not speaking at all, who are brilliant, who are passionate about what they do, but they're too afraid to get out in front of an audience, or if they're invited, they don't even know the process of putting together a presentation, like really in a really structured, focused way that is very audience-centric. So, so the program was sort of aimed towards that, towards helping those individuals, and I put together a 6-week program that takes people through a step-by-step program that helps them create a speech from start to finish with every single component of a talk, meaning how to introduce a talk, how to close it with impact, where do the stories, the facts, the examples, how do you logically build your argument and persuade people to come around to your point of view, and ultimately how do you share your expertise and get known as an expert so that you can continue sharing your message and what's inside you and sharing that expertise.
Wow,
and
that's great.
It's been a great reception, mostly also because the more I work with people on it, the more they see that it's easier than they thought once you start following the steps, and what a difference this kind of structure makes in a presentation.
Yes,
so
and then you've got one presentation that you can use over and over too. You're not recreating something every time somebody asks you to speak, right?
Exactly, but at the same time, the more you speak, the more demand there will be for you, and so sometimes you need to keep creating new presentations, and this gives you that process whereby you can do that.
Yeah, that's great. I would think there's a lot of different types of people that would need that help. Obviously, anyone in a large corporation could use that, but the type of people that often listen to this type of art, like the Light Express and so forth, are sole entrepreneurs. Can you explain how that could be really helpful for them?
Oh, so helpful, because entrepreneurs were so often on our own in trying to figure things out, and trying to figure out the marketing and trying to figure out how to target yourself and how to figure out how to put together your signature speech and what should it contain. So this is really a way, right now I'm doing a live training and I'm going to be creating a self-study course at the same time that will help entrepreneurs understand the most powerful aspects of their story that they can really bring forth to an audience, to their clients, to their prospects. It's not always about standing on a keynote stage and standing at a conference. It's about how do you present yourself to the person in front of you and really present the benefits of what you do and what you offer. So for entrepreneurs, it's really, really important, but for larger business owners, it's the same benefits involved.
Very good. And what was one of the hardest things in kind of making this change for you to go to working on your own and creating your own kind of program? What were maybe one or two of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
The time that it required, the
Yeah.
time that it required because I've got a little one at home, so managing the time and finding the right people to be able to help, finding the
Mhm.
right team of people who might be able to help in this process.